What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today it is going to be these post Super Bowl one round no trades mock drafts. So if you guys are new, would love for you guys to stick around. We are so close to 7,000 subscribers, and only y'all can make that happen. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts down below. Remember, don't be a dick about it. I want to make good content for you, so please help guide me there. You guys are fans of 30 or one team, while I'm a fan of 32. So feel free to give me a little bit of a nudge, a little bit of insight that can help my content that you can enjoy later on. So let's hop right into this. Obviously, you guys see my draft board right below my face. And yeah, no need for a long intro. Pick number 1. Again, there is no trades. People are saying that this should be traded anyways, and there is some truth to that. The problem is who's going to trade for it, and I don't want to ruin a one-round mock draft because I do a trades mock draft tomorrow that is going to be stipulating through what that trade will be. So to keep this plain Jane, to keep it simple, and to put us in a situation where, again, a trade's not guaranteed. It's very, very likely, but not guaranteed. That's why I do stuff like this. Again, it puts you in that mindset, it puts you in that frame to where you're able to choose something that's best for the team at the spot rather than kind of just being able to chicken out and be able to get out of that spot. So if the Bears were to sit here at number 1 overall, you look at their picks that they have in the draft. Their next one's going to be at 56. And for me personally, again, I would totally trade back out of this pick. And if you guys were curious, if I were to make a trade right now, who would I do it with? I think the Colts are just an easy option. Of course, I would do it with the Colts. Of course I would. But that's something that we would do tomorrow. So for me, I think that if you're sitting here and you're happy being at the number 1 overall spot, let's just say Eberflus is like, you know what? I want my own Aaron Donald. I want my own TJ Watt. Then he's going to stay put. And I think the best value is Jalen Carter. In round 2, you're going to have some really good edge rushers there. Not necessarily interior defensive linemen that could be that game-changing. There are some dudes who have come to the front, like Carl Brooks didn't even get a combine invite, so maybe like a day 3 target, which he has a much better value than a day 3 target. Like, I think that'd be a really cool option. You know, if you see Kalijah Cansey maybe not test out as well, that's another guy you can draft later on. But I really think that when it all comes down to it, if you trust the Bears to develop a talent, I think that defensive interior with Jalen Carter has the highest ceiling. So I'm going to be taking Jalen Carter. Pick number 2, like people debate whichever quarterback's going to go. It really depends on Bryce Young's measurements. If he is measured under 6 foot, there's a legitimate reason to say, hey, we are not going to take him. Because NFL teams, similar to like how people think the stereotype of a dude in terms of attractiveness, if you're not 6 foot and over, you're not necessarily going to be that primary option, which CJ could step into that fold. And D'Amico's used to more that ball distributor rather than the big playmaker there with Bryce Young. So it is something to note. Personally, if I were the Texans, I would be trading with a team like, maybe not the Colts, because then in this case, they'd end up taking Will Anderson there at 3, and then, shit starts hitting the fan. But I think that you could, also it's in division, but you could end up looking to move out for a significant amount of draft capital if you are uncomfortable. Is edge rusher out of the options? No. I don't think it's off the board. But I think quarterback just seems the most likely. I think Bryce Young fits what used to be there with Deshaun Watson. His play style, similar to Deshaun Watson. His IQ, incredible. It's just the measurables that are the big issue with Bryce Young. So I'm hoping he overcomes that, but that is where we're going to go, and I don't think I need to explain that pick right there, nor this one with CJ Stroud. Well, hello. I did not even know that they had that available. So cheers to PFF for actually doing something productive. But at pick number 5, the one where it starts becoming a little dicey, I do think we need to mention Will Levis here. I just don't think that there's much debate on whether Will Levis would fit. He does run the exact same offensive system. His coach, former Rams OC. The offensive coordinator here, former Rams OC. They run the identical offense. It is a hand-in-glove fit. Geno's getting older. Quarterbacks are expensive. The times that a lot of teams work is on that rookie contract. I think Will Levis would be a great choice here. I want to explore different options, though, because I always go Will Levis here at number 5 at this point. So I want to make it a little bit more fun for you as well as for me. If CJ Stroud were here, which a lot of people are saying Will Levis is the guy for the Colts, then I take CJ, just because, again, he's also younger too. But I digress. I think if you are looking between the other options besides QB, which again, I think is the right move, Tyree Wilson, Myles Murphy are the guys, and Tyree does have the upside. To me, he does, because he has the longer arms, and we'll see that when testing comes. He's maybe not as strong as Myles Murphy is in the upper torso, but I think that could totally change, and he's been excellent in the run game, so you just know he needs to work on refinement, and this is a team that's perfect for that. So for me, Tyree Wilson is the guy, wow, we did it again, is going to be the guy who I believe would be the best fit there. And if you are sitting in this spot, you could look at the corners, but at number 18, I'm just going to be completely transparent. There's going to be great ones there. You can get even Christian Gonzalez, who I am lower on than most people, at that spot, most likely. And, I mean, tell me how getting Devon Witherspoon here is going to be that much better. To me, I don't think so. I don't. So Myles Murphy is going to be the pick. A super stable, solid, great run defending, and high upside in terms of his pass rushing ability, edge defender. He fits in the similar mold to Aiden Hutchinson. At the start of the year, when I was hoping he'd take a step up, he was, to me, Aiden Hutchinson, but better. He didn't take that step up. To me, he's maybe 90 to 95% of what Aiden Hutchinson was, which, to me, is a pretty damn good deal at number 6 overall. Pick number 7 for the Raiders. They're going to be cutting Derek Carr. To me, I think Jimmy G would be a pretty interesting fit. Of course, he ran the McDaniels system. That's why it makes sense. I don't think Will Levis makes sense in terms of the fit. I personally don't. You saw how Derek Carr, who is a playmaker, not be able to work at his usual efficiency there in Las Vegas. To me, I don't think Will Levis would fit either, based on the fact that he's also a playmaker. So I'm not going to do it to Will Levis. I'm not going to do it to you guys. But Anthony Richardson could be intriguing. I don't think that he's going to work here either. Very similar to Will Levis in terms of the high upside. In terms, I mean, it's kind of rude to say that the high upside quarterbacks won't work with you guys, but it's true. McDaniels works very well with a consistent flow rather than the big shot plays and the big playability of these larger quarterbacks. Similar to how San Fran has been proving that as well. I would think that you guys are great at being able to pick up value. I would personally do that at the quarterback position. I think other positions to address. Offensive line is a concern. I think right tackle could be addressed, not with Peter Skoronski. You could look at Paris. I'm just not super comfortable with that idea. I honestly would be perfectly fine with Thyra Mumford, who was a top 10 rookie tackle, consensus-wise. So, I mean, you could stick with that and be perfectly fine. The DBs, linebackers, defensive interior, that's where I really think you need to be working and tweaking. And Josh Jacobs said he work on a 1-year contract in terms of a franchise tag, so that is very comforting, to say the least. This is a very thick, or not thick, that sounds weird. That's a very deep running back class in this one. So I'd be maybe looking at a later round running back to see maybe if you can find the future option. But man, it's interesting to say the least. But Devon Witherspoon does fit very well. He has that big, beefy mentality. Even though he might be 180, 190 pounds, he's somebody who uses his weight and throws himself like a missile. Big hitter. He has a great attitude towards his game. For me, I have Joey Porter above him, but you also have Nate Hobbs, who was a former teammate, if I'm not mistaken, of Devon Witherspoon. So I'm going to go back to the roots right there. Pick number 8. I think Will Levis could be an option here. I really do. I don't think it's out of the cards. And if you're given this certain group of players right here, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Because again, I don't think Desmond Ridder, for transparency, was my quarterback number 8 last year. I was not a fan of him. And, he's now your number 1. There's not really much competition there, and that is a legit concern. Now, spending pick number 8 versus a third-round pick on a QB, that's a significant value difference. So you're saying that you're going to blow a number 8 overall pick on a potential QB. I get that, but I do think it is possible. Now, other positions of note, corner. I do think getting a corner number 2 for the long run, not a bad idea. Offensive line, pretty sure that McGarry is up for a contract. So you are looking to be able to address that tackle spot. And I want to switch it up a little bit. I think Paris Johnson's going to get a lot of hype, and he played right guard the year before, so he's used to playing on the right side. He only has 1 year as left tackle experience. but he also has that versatility of playing on the left and the right, similar to how we saw last year from Evan Neal. But Evan Neal actually played right tackle. But I'm going to go Paris Johnson here. I have a weird feeling that they might get very enthused with an offensive lineman. Obviously, McGarry was traded up for at the end of the first. And Paris Johnson might be that guy that just clicks. Again, I could be totally wrong here, and please correct me if I am. But under the notion that McGarry is gone, I'm probably going to want to just continue building up a very athletic, very solid offensive line so that in the future, yes, you can tank 1 year with Desmond Ridder, or you can succeed with Desmond Ridder, but you at least have the future pieces in place for your franchise quarterback. Pick number 9 is down to Richardson and Levis. And is it realistic for these guys to fall? No. That's why teams are going to be trading up for them. But I think Anthony Richardson might go before Will Levis. I think we might be seeing a little bit too much Levis love. And Richardson might be the guy who steals the show because of how young he is. But he's only played 20 games. That's really tough. If I'm not mistaken, he might have started less than that. And I don't think any quarterback, I think he's started 12 games. So I don't think any quarterback in the first round has ever done that. So teams might be opting out for the bigger guy like Will Levis. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what quarterback you're going to take. Frank Reich's addition is perfect for either of these guys. For me personally, I would honestly take the shot on Anthony Richardson because, you're kind of bringing back Cam Newton, but better. That's my personal opinion, of course. I didn't watch Cam in college, so I cannot be I have to be completely open about that one too. But I think Will Levis would be the more likely guy to go here. I personally, Anthony Richardson. But voice crack. Will Levis will be the guy who goes probably above Anthony Richardson, even though Anthony Richardson, I have a big soft spot for him. Pick number 10. We are having a very similar beginning to these drafts. Again, I think Joey Porter Jr. might be the guy to bring in. It's unfortunate that, Bradbury did hold. I thought that it was one of those ones where it's like, you got to let him play. But Bradbury owned up. He said, dude, I held, and I was just hoping they wouldn't catch it. They caught it. It was one hell of a Super Bowl. I thought it was a really, really, I personally was rooting for a specific team, and it was unsatisfying, to say the least, to see a win because of that. And the only reason I was doing this is because my best friend's an Eagles fan. So out of spite for him, I was rooting for the Chiefs. But, I chose the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl at the start of the year. Happy to say that they proved that they belonged there. That was the biggest thing. That was the best way to lose, on a penalty that probably shouldn't have been called, but also showing that you guys could actually fight to the last second of the game. That is awesome. That is awesome. You really need to hang your hat on that. I think come draft time, you guys are going to be one position away, and that very well might be someone like Jalen Carter there at pick number 3. We might test that out tomorrow, so feel free to let me know what you guys think about that one. Pick number 11, this is going to be Anthony Richardson. The Titans are trying to trade up to 1. They'd actually put in an offer. They're looking at a QB. I think they're perfectly fine dealing with mediocrity for a year with Anthony Richardson. I'd rather see a battle of the mid for 1 year if it means that Anthony Richardson could be an absolute superstar in the long run. You could also start Malik for a year and see what happens there, but we kind of saw, unfortunately, Malik looks a bit out of his depth. Pick number 12, this feels like a defensive pick. I personally would trade back here myself. Brian Breezy does feel like a very likely option. I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are on Brian Branch, because to me, it's a relatively thin safety class, and Brian Branch is one of those guys who are really, really special. Edge rusher-wise, I don't think anybody's worth it. I do not like Lucas Van Ness. I rewatched him, do not like him. I don't know where the hype is coming from for him. I don't think any of these edge rushers might be worth it, even though I have B.J. Ojolari up so high. Just understanding the value of the class. I mean, my next edge rusher is there at number 11. My next one, 14. There's dudes in this class. So I think D'Amico Ryans did see the value of a strong edge rushing group and defensive line. So looking at those guys who are on the board, for me, I think offensive line needs to be a priority for you guys in round 2. So you got to go after the high upside here. Brian Breezy, to me, would work very well with D'Amico Ryans. I think that's just a very smart thing to do. Again, personally, telling you guys now, I would trade back. I would trade back. This is not a trade back mock draft, so you're not going to have the options available for you because I already know that if Kalijah Cansey's there for the Eagles, it's a really nice late second round pick. So with that being said, let's continue on here. The Jets, Brian Branch could be a very fun option. I do think that this is a very likely landing spot for Derek Carr, since he just said to the Raiders and said, you guys better release me because you guys ain't getting jack for me. And the way to protect him is probably getting a good offensive line, or you can continue developing the defense. Brian Branch does feel like a really nice safety to replace LaMarcus Joyner. I mean, can you imagine him if he played slot corner? I know you guys, I believe, have Michael Carter there already, who's pretty solid. But imagine if Michael Carter stays. You have Brian Branch, Michael Carter, and then you have obviously DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner. That is an elite four. And I'm forgetting on the other safety's name as well, and I'm pretty sure he's not even a liability. So you're having a no-fly zone in a division where you're having Josh Allen, who is now showing that he's a little bit more prone to interceptions. God only knows what's going to happen with Tua. And then, the Patriots quarterback situation. You're going to be setting yourself up for success. In my opinion, that'd be a really cool thing to do. Might want to go Sidney Brown in round 2 if you're under that notion, though. Because I'm trying to convince myself out of an offensive tackle to make it more interesting. And I'm going to go Brian Branch because of the ceiling. Again, you already have a solidified core, so you have room for error for a guy like Brian Branch to suck. And I think that's definitely something that's a pretty solid move. The Patriots, I think Peter Skoronski does feel like a Patriot, one of those guys where lesser known, but the guy who he's going to try to replace is from Georgia, so can't really use that logic. You could look at the DBs for sure. You got some really good ones on the board, but looking at the offensive tackles, again, I love Darnell Wright, super athletic, a dude who's going to be a day one starter for a team. A lot of people think he'll kick into guard because he's a little too jumpy, but for me, I think he has the correct length, he has the correct size, and he has great athleticism for it. He needs a team that's going to mold him. I hope to God maybe the Eagles move back and take him because, again, he's one of my favorite players at that tackle spot. But the Eagles obviously have to see what's going to happen with their veterans who do kind of toss up the idea of retiring up in the air. But I think going after Broderick Jones, we'll do a 1-to-1 fit Georgia tackle for Georgia tackle there. Pick number 15 for the Packers. I think Peter Skoronski wouldn't be an awful idea to bring in. Aaron Rodgers probably going to be traded. We don't know. He's on his little mancation right now. Tight end feels like the only option in the first round that would be offense for this team. But it's unfortunate. I do think Lucas Van Ness would be the most likely option for them in the first round. Raw, high upside edge rusher with some great run stuffing ability. Does feel like a project similar to Rashawn Gary. So I don't think it would be a bad pick. I'd personally hope that you go someone like B.J. Ojulari here. But we'll go Lucas Van Ness. We will. Because of the Packers. I mean, to be fair, the Packers do take guys who are worth lower rounds in the first round. So you never know. But Lucas Van Ness does feel like something that it makes sense that the Packers did it. It does. Like if you hear that and then you're like, yeah, I can understand that. I'm going to change it up. We'll go a DB pick here for Washington. Keely Ringo's outstanding. Emmanuel Forbes, outstanding. To me, I think these guys do need to be at least considered for this spot. In round 2, you will probably end up with somebody who is very talented. And offensive line is the best way to go. But I'm trying to have a little bit of variability here in the picks. And to me, I think Keely Ringo's awesome. Again, Emmanuel Forbes and Keely Ringo are both very talented corners in their own right. So I'm going to go Keely here. I know it doesn't say it's a need there for Washington, but for me personally, I do think that with the addition of A.J. Brown in the division, you need someone who is about 210, 215 pounds, who's able to get their hands on a much larger receiver. I trust Keely to do that over someone who's 180 like Emmanuel Forbes. So that's just me, though. Again, you guys will totally disagree, and I understand that. Pick number 17. Peter Skoronski feels perfect because he will play that guard role in the short run. I do worry that he will end up being the guard in the long run versus Darnell. He fits that Steelers bill at 330, 345 pounds. Really good athlete. Can play left and right tackle. He has played both for at least a year. And he has the highest ceiling. He has the arm length. He has everything. He's my tackle 1. You guys get to see it on my board. I'll scroll down as well so you get to see a little bit more. It's still not fully up to date, but we're getting there. But I do think that Darnell Wright feels like a Steelers type of guy. Big dude, very good athlete. He needs to be molded, and I think it's perfect over Peter Skoronski, where I have legitimate concerns on his ability. But this is a spot where you could throw a little bit of a curveball. Now, round 2 is great for corners. I totally think that going after DB is perfectly fine at this pick. But I might want to get that guard spot fixed up. Personally, I don't like Hal Vaitai. I know there's some money tied up with him, but I would love to put Peter Skoronski there and then have him as a good depth piece. So I want to hear your thoughts about that. I'm not going to pull the trigger on it, but I do want to hear your thoughts about it because I do think he's just that much of an elite player, especially if he ends up as a guard. He is my offensive lineman 1. I do think he's the best offensive lineman, but it's the fact that he's going to be a guard that really pigeonholes me into not taking him for teams like the Steelers who do need a guard / tackle, Patriots who need a tackle. So let me know what you think about that. So for me, I'm at this position, I'm going to go Bijan. I don't think they'll go defense as much as I want them to go defense. But Bijan really is that elite cerebral talent that you can't get every single draft. He's a very talented player. I don't need to describe Bijan for you. He's a running back that's worth a first-round pick to pretty much everybody. So, when it comes to DeAndre Swift's injury history, Jamal will probably be back as a great guy to be, kind of the Roschon Johnson to Bijan. That will be a really nice fit. But you really need a guy who could be a bell cow back there, kind of the Todd Gurley to Jared Goff in a hopeful Super Bowl run. Because I do think that might be one of the teams that I call like a crazy Super Bowl run on if they end up getting someone like Bijan on the offense. Pick number 19 for the Buccaneers. Again, quarterbacks are gone. This team might need to make a drastic move up for one. Wide receivers still plentiful. DBs plentiful. And I do think DB's the route they will go. I will go Christian Gonzalez here 10 out of 10 times if that is the case. For me, I'm going to go Peter Skoronski. Offensive guard, you guys will see a T and be like, oh my God, why are you drafting a tackle? His arms are, in my opinion, too short to be a tackles. That's me. I don't think he can play a tackle in the NFL. It's a long shot. And it's not the measurement that's the issue. You look at how he plays, and it's always the defender hitting him first. He cannot initiate contact with a lengthy edge rusher. When you're in a league with guys like Myles Garrett, if they have their hands on you and you don't have your hands on them, you're fucked. Just completely, just to be honest with you guys, you're completely screwed. You're not going to work. And I think this team definitely could use some extra help on the interior of the offensive line. Peter Skoronski is, again, my number 1 offensive lineman. He's incredibly talented. He's just pigeonholed as a guard in my eyes, and that is scary to me because I really wanted him to be a tackle because I'm like, okay, don't look at the arm length. Don't look at the number, look at how he plays. And the more I saw him play, the more concerned I got. And I don't think that's going to change when the edge rushers get better. The edge rushers get more NFL build and NFL. I'm trying to think of the word. So they're not built for the NFL. They're not in the standard mold. There we go. That the NFL edge rushers are. At pick number 21, there's an unbelievable amount of receivers that you can go. Jordan Addison would be a great compliment. I'm going to go Quentin Johnston. I do think that he is kind of like DeAndre Hopkins. The wide receivers should be going earlier, in my opinion. I do think they should be going earlier. It's just so tough when there are guys, like you look at Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, direct competition to each other. Jackson Smith and Jigba, you could look at him and Quentin Johnston, direct competition. You don't need to send a high first-round pick on one of these guys, especially when down the board you got Josh Downs and Tank Dell. Jalen Hyatt being that deep threat for you. Cedric Tillman, not a bad player. You look down the board, Justin Shorter, Puka Nacua, Michael Wilson, Jaden Reed. You don't need to send it, full send it like that. So, pick number 22, I do think Jackson Smith and Jigba would be a great choice for this team. Not as explosive as, you would hope for, but you see him in a system where he's able to operate as that shorter range guy to just get open, find space. You saw him have a lot of success, even if he did not necessarily produce as the guy. And he was. That's a complete bullshit statement. So I take that back. But he was, in my opinion, never the wide receiver one. He produced very well, but I believe that was because the attention was elsewhere. And that sounds sacrilegious. I'm an Ohio State fan, so I'm not going to totally shit on Jackson Smith and Jigba's doorstep. But I think that he's a little bit overrated by his fans. And again, that's one of the great things. I don't like being biased, so I like giving you guys what I truly think. Jackson Smith and Jigba is a perfect fit for this team. Totally worth a first-round pick. He's going to ball out as a Raven. But as just a sole prospect, I don't think that he is on the level of guys like Jordan Addison who can make stuff on their own. Obviously, he did not produce the way he did last year, but injuries got in the way. And, I'm hoping the Steelers can somehow find a way to get Jordan Addison because I would love to see him back with Kenny. Pick number 23. So I would usually love to go after Bijan Robinson at this pick. Not the case at the moment. So looking at other positions, you just brought on a star at the defensive coordinator position. You're going to be going a DB. I watched Cam Smith again, and I'm just going to be honest, I was kind of bored. I actually fell asleep while watching it. It's like I just couldn't be excited. And I think Emmanuel Forbes is someone who I genuinely love to watch. And it's not like, oh, I love to watch a player versus I don't love him, that's why I'm choosing him. But he brings the excitement. He has the ability to use, similar to Devon Witherspoon, his aggressiveness, and he's able to play at a higher weight than he actually is. He's a missile to the ball. The first play of a game versus Alabama, I saw it and I was like, oh, I wish you had that mentality to go and just completely blow up that run play because he had a choice. The next time he had the opportunity, he stepped up into the hole where the running back was going full speed and stopped the running back. Unbelievable. So that was like, yes, that's exactly what I was looking for. Emmanuel Forbes, incredible talent. He's going to be a day one starter for sure. Pick number 24. You're looking at the players who are available. I think Osiris Torrance is a very likely fit. Just getting interior offensive line is never a bad idea. And personally, I'm not nearly as high on Osiris Torrance as some other people. But I don't think that he's a bad pick at all. And I do see the upside there. I just do caution that he's not as good as we're kind of trying to lead everyone on to. I don't think that Clark Phillips is 99th best player. I've been watching him, and he's a really fun talent. He's a good player. Slot corners are lower value, so it's going to be tough to see him actually go that high. But I do like going offensive line for this team. I think I kind of want to change it up, though. I do. I'll go after someone who I think is a likely first-round talent in Cam Smith. I have him as a second-rounder. I don't think he's bad at all. I'm just not sold. And I think Tyreek Stevenson might be better, but I think Cam Smith just fits kind of exactly what they're looking for. So Cam Smith going to be the dude. Pick number 25 for the Giants. You have your choice of Jordan Addison or Zay Flowers. I don't think it's much of a debate as to which position you're going. You can debate whether Jordan Addison or Zay Flowers is better. Cowboys. I personally think Zay Flowers could be a really fun option for this team. Of course, in round 2, you can go after someone like Tank Dell, or if like Josh Downs is there, you can do that too. Offensive line, I don't think Osiris Torrance is an awful option. I think boundary corner, we need to at least look at it. And you got Eli Ricks here. You have Tyreek Stevenson, and with Tyreek kind of getting that hype, and he is 6 foot, 212 pounds. He's a good run defender. You've seen the potential there. Would be a nice boundary corner too. So I'm going to take my shot on it. They ended up drafting one of my favorite players last year in Tyler Smith, and he's been doing a very good job there for Dallas overall, especially for the expectations that he had by a lot of people. Excited to say that Tyreek Stevenson can definitely ball the fuck out. Pick number 27. Offensive line with Osiris Torrance is going to be the instant pick here. Even though he has a lower ceiling or a lower floor, his ceiling is totally worth it. And honestly, his floor is similar to the play that you already have. So totally worth taking the shot. Pick number 28. I do think if there are offensive tackles on the board, you take them. And it's Anton Harrison or DeJuan Jones. Again, I clicked on the wrong button, but Anton Harrison is going to be that guy. He does play games at right tackle as well. So regardless of where you want to put him, I think it would be a good spot. Pick number 29. Don't even have to trade this pick away for a QB, which is pretty incredible. Defensive interior edge rushers seem to be the positions where you guys are hollering for. I might end up going after a wide receiver here, though, with Zay Flowers. Of course, Lucas Van Ness feels like the very obvious choice. Looking at other players that you could bring in, I would love to see maybe Isaiah McGuire be brought in later on because I do think he has it. It's just, man, his one-on-one reps looked absolutely abysmal there at the Senior Bowl. My former number 2 player, you guys get to see him there at number 31 on my board. You guys can blame the absolute garbage that is Google spreadsheets for messing up my conditional formatting. That's why it does not look as pretty as maybe it should. Anywho, pick number 29. It's a spot where I would personally trade out of. Like maybe a team wants to move up for that 5th-year tax. I think based on the guys who are available, and again, I do not, and I repeat, do not like what I see from the defensive interior class, except maybe Kalijah Cansey. But even Kalijah has his issues. He's a very fast player, and I think he'd be a really cool addition to this team. But y'all are looking for someone who can be that big plug and be able to just absolutely annihilate someone like Mozzie Smith. Keanu Benton in round 2 would be a good choice. Not here. So guys that you can get here, I think Zay Flowers would be just the best option. You can get Trenton Simpson too. Not a bad choice. Get him as a Demario Davis backup. Like have him grow and develop. That'd be a pretty cool option in my opinion. But I'm going to go Zay Flowers here because I do think he'll be a really, really cool addition there with Chris Olave. And you're building yourself a very good receiving core for whoever is going to play QB. The Eagles. I personally, again, think that this team is going to make a crazy push into the top 10 to be able to get that one extra superstar to be able to make them really like that much better. That much. But at this spot, we got corner already. Offensive line should be under the microscope, and I cannot take him for the Chiefs. I think developing DeJuan Jones would not be a bad choice if you stay at that spot. He's 360, 375 pounds, and he moves way better than any of the guys who have been at that weight beforehand. He just shown that he's able to develop himself in the offseason, somebody who's moved up exponentially on my board. And I have a lot of respect for someone who could put in the work. And I would love to see a little bit more from him at the combine in terms of his numbers before I really thrust him into this consideration. But thin tackle class, Lane Johnson is within a year or 2 of retiring per himself. And I do think DeJuan Jones is kind of a perfect guy to be an understudy there for a short period of time. Can play, that's kind of rough to have him as a guard, but you can probably move him around if need be. You're also taking him away from the Chiefs because that would be my perfect pick for the Kansas City Chiefs. But congratulations on your Super Bowl victory, Kansas City. To give you guys a reward, you guys are picking the 31st best player in the class. Do that as you will. Wide receiver wise, I don't think that I want to take any of the dudes who are available here personally. Edge rusher and defense interior would be the way I look at. You guys called me out last time for Kalijah Cansey because of the fact that he's a lot smaller. I do think he can put on some weight and maybe lose a little bit of that, what makes him truly special. That's a little bit tough. I kind of want to get extra edge rushing presence though. And, there's so many good players on the board. I think Felix might be a little bit closer to the weight range that you are looking for. Finally, I'll actually use this for the right reason, and it does not. Okay, 255. So I wanted to check if they might have updated his weight at all. It's 255 versus 250 here. Like, technically not that big of a deal. I'm going to show a little bit of love to BJ Ojolari and bring him in. So that's going to be the draft. Let me know what you guys think. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the far side. Peace.